All right. I think recording is in progress. Yep. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Abdullah Syed. This is going to be an interview video for my MGMT 5113 course. Today I have Nipun Dubey. He's a CEO at HappiNest.AI, but I'll let him talk about himself more. So please introduce yourself and give a brief overview of your background and leadership experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that short intro, Abdullah. I really appreciate it. My name is Nipun Dubey. I am co-founder and CEO of HappiNest.AI. We're a AI startup on the cutting edge of automating the entire leasing process. So we work particularly in multifamily real estate. And we have a team of over a dozen folks that are working really hard on transforming a very legacy and fragmented industry. It's a $100 billion industry in America alone. And a little bit about my background. So I graduated from the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania, and then I worked at bigger companies like LinkedIn, Microsoft, but really found my sweet spot with startups. I had a startup that I co-founded in college. I did that after school, successfully pivoted and navigated through an exit. And then I worked at another startup, particularly in the AI space that I was looking at model monitoring and looking at how we can improve the performance of different AI models in a safe and explainable way. I did that. We raised some money as well. And then after an equity buyout, from there, I went to a larger ed tech company. I was there for about a year and a half, and from there, I helped grow my the department I was in charge of 6x in revenue. We went from 300K to 1.8 million during my time there and helped scale that up into a very successful, semi-autonomous unit at the company that's doing really well. And at that point, I was a part of a couple different real estate initiatives and groups. I actually moved from the East Coast, from the Midwest, down to Florida because I thought it was an excellent real estate opportunity here. And that's when I realized just how much of a pain point property management was, particularly the lack of tools and technologies to unify it. And that's what led to, this current startup I co-founded. And that has been, growing. We have customers, we have product, we're live. And now we're just going to focus on scaling it and making it as successful as possible across the country.
That's amazing. Thank you for that introduction. And I want to ask you, what is the biggest misconception about being a manager?
I think the biggest misconception about being a manager is that you just tell people what to do. And it's very like top down. And now some people tend to have that approach, or some people think that's all it's about is just being the boss and telling people what to do. That's not really what being a manager is about. Being a manager is about ensuring that the task that you have on hand is completed, right? That's making sure you are managing your resources in a way that delivers the desired outcome in the most efficient manner possible with the best result possible for all stakeholders. That includes your customers, includes your coworkers, includes your team. And so that's the way I see, you know, what a manager is and what a manager should do. Does that make sense? It's not just about telling someone you do something. It's about really thinking through what are all the things required to make this task or operation successful. What are the right rules for the right team members to have, right? How do I motivate them? How do I inspire them? How do I work with them to, utilize their natural skill sets in a way that's like, an orchestra. The way I think about it is like you are a conductor as a manager, and you have this beautiful orchestra in front of you, right? With really talented violinists, you have very talented people that play the cello or the bass or the viola, and it's your job as a conductor, as the manager, to orchestrate all of them in a way which leads to the best sound possible, right? The best outcome possible for your customers. So that's how I think about it.
Actually, that's like very important. And I feel like a lot of the characteristics that you said will bring me to my next question, actually, which is I know you addressed most of this, but how do you define success as a leader?
Yeah, I think that's making that's ensuring your goals are aligned. That's ensuring that your team is operating in in that harmony and being the best possible team it can be. I think being successful as a leader comes down to really instilling confidence in your team, and it comes down to organizing things in a way that's efficient and sets your team up for success. And then the third one is really problem solving, right? As problems come up, right? Whether it's your colleague gets stuck somewhere, your team member gets stuck somewhere. I think as a leader, your job is to take initiative to help solve those problems, right? You're someone that, takes responsibility, that takes accountability. If there's an issue, I think a leader takes an ownership mindset and believes that the buck stops with them. And they don't just pass that on to someone else. They might ask other people for help as well, since no one can do everything by themselves. But I think as a leader, you really have to take responsibility and um, help your team solve problems that will come up inevitably in any sort of business venture.
Nice. And what is one leadership lesson that you wish you learned earlier in your career? And also, what is the most important lesson you've learned about managing people?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, your most important asset is your people, right? I think I think, you might have all these financial resources, or you might have great technology, or you might have even customers lined up, but if you don't um, learn people skills, I think you'll be really behind. I think I made the mistake when I was growing up, or when I got to business school, trying to be the smartest person I could be myself, which is great. I don't think I don't think that's a bad thing, but you should not just solely focus on, yourself, or your leveling yourself up, and leveling your technical skills up without recognizing that at the end of the day, everything is about people, right? Your customers are people, your coworkers are people. Growing and managing any business is about people. And one of the most underrated and most important skills someone can have is not being able to do a discounted cash flow and do an Excel sheet analysis, right, of profits and losses. But that's important. You should know that. But at the same time, I think what's going to have the biggest impact is your people skills. How can you motivate people? How can you understand people? What are their needs? What are they really talking about? How can you address them? How can you formulate win-win solutions, right? What if there's conflict between you and two team members? How do you resolve that in a way that's amicable and that leads to productivity? What if there's a customer that's really upset at you? How do you do that? How do you assuage them so bring them off that ledge, you calm them down, at the same time ensuring them that this mistake won't happen again, or that, they should trust your company with their business. So I think the most important, lesson and most important skill you can really have is it comes down to, having people skills and really being able to listen to them and understand them and, work with a variety of folks from a variety of backgrounds.
Nice. And actually, going back to before being a manager and a leader, how did you handle the transition from being an individual contributor to a leadership role? And what was the biggest adjustments you had when you became a manager?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one thing to keep in mind is that, especially, when you grow up very, academically inclined and you're smart and you're a hard worker and you have all these good traits, which oftentimes is what allows you to level up, right? And go to the next level and become a manager. You have to keep in mind that there's a difference between being an individual contributor and being a manager. That when you do transition to a managerial role, you cannot keep thinking you can do everything yourself, right? Even if you can, it doesn't mean you should, right? And oftentimes you can't. So you need to know when to be able to delegate. Like you need to really like be able to delegate to your team, pick the right folks for the right jobs, and then trust them, right? Sometimes I've seen managers, a lot of my peers or friends that are new managers or that have, when they were becoming managers, I see them get in this, understandable but dangerous habit of doing everything themselves. Like, oh man, this person won't get it, or this person's going to be too slow. So let me just do everything myself, right? And sometimes that might be more convenient, but in the long run, it's going to hold you back. It's going to be more important to be able to train that employee, train that person under you to do the job good enough, so it may not be perfect, but it's good enough to complete that task, all right, and get the job done. Because you can't clone yourself right now, and you can't have yourself be at in 100 different places as much as we would like. So that's why having a team that you trust and that is competent that you can work with and coach is so important. And you need to have patience with that, right? Like as a smart person that gets promoted to being a manager, you were really good at what you were doing, right? And so your first instinct is keep doing what you were doing, but you can't do that as a manager, right? The tricky part in that transition is being able to go from doing it yourself to delegating and then training the people you delegate and coaching them and being patient with them if they do make mistakes. And really, like, it's like a plant. You want to really keep flowering that plant and watch it grow and grow until it becomes a strong tree, right? That becomes your job as a manager, not necessarily, doing all that stuff yourself. but training people on how to do that.
So, the main thing is delegation. And when it comes to delegation and, hiring team members, what do you look for when you're hiring or promoting team members?
I think the number one most important skill by far I look for that people can have is the ability to teach oneself information, the ability to learn, self-learning, and critically thinking. Those are so underrated, man. I think if you can critically think and if you can teach yourself things, right? And which in today's day and age, no one has an excuse not to be able to do. You have incredible AI tools out there. You have incredible resources, from, Google to all the GPTs and, AI tools out there to, everyone has access to almost the same amount of information around the world. So you have all the tools, whether it's through YouTube or whatever it is, you have free lectures, you have paid lectures, you have all sorts of stuff available to be able to teach yourself just about any skill, right? And I think the ability to learn things, be quick on your feet, be agile, and just continuously having this growth mindset, this learning mindset, is so important because in the world we live in, right, technology changes faster than we can keep up. Whether it's AI, whether it's whatever it is in this world, things are always in flux. They're always changing. So when I'm building a team, when I'm looking for folks, I really look for people that can teach themselves the skills that are needed to get the job done and they're needed to thrive because it's cool if you got a degree from someplace, or it's cool if you learn all these things in a textbook, awesome. But we know that in 5 years it's going to be outdated, or at this rate, probably in a year or two. So the
Hmm.
ability to keep learning and the ability to be able to think critically is so important, right? I think what some of these schools they teach you is not necessarily it's about what's in the textbook, but it's about how to understand what's in the textbook and how to apply it and how to learn it and how to keep doing that, right? So it's almost like teaching someone how to learn versus just teaching them what they are learning, right? The ability to learn is so underrated, and the ability to think critically and just solve problems, right? Like, if I hire 10 people, I want to see them take initiative in solving a problem, right? I want to see them at least try, right? Use the resources around you. I am happy to help you if you get stuck. But I don't want to be the first, call. I want to be the last call when you're really stuck and you have tried 10 different solutions, you've perplexied it, you've chat GPT'd it, you've Googled it, you've tried 10 different situations. Like try, because that will teach you the most, right? Then use your brain, try to critically solve it on your own. And you will get stuck, and that's okay. There's no shame in that. Everyone gets stuck, everyone needs help. That's what I'm here for. That's what your other colleagues and teammates are here for. But at least take that attempt and try to think through things critically um, before trying to go, obviously, like, I want solutions for my team, but like, and I can help them choose which is the best solution and how to maybe implement it. But I don't want them just coming to me with problem after problem. That's not what I look for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, no, that's amazing. Like this is something that a great leader will be able to provide. And at the same time, even though you gave me a lot of information about how you are a great leader, what advice would you give to someone who wants to become a great leader?
Yeah. Listen to your people and always, I think be humble, listen to your people, and always have an open mindset to learning, right? No matter how much experience you have, no matter how good you are, whether you're the CEO of, $1 billion company, or whether you're the CEO of $1 million company, or whether you're the CEO of Apple, right? Like, it doesn't matter what company you're leading. I think at the end of the day, we live in a climate that's constantly changing, where one strategy that worked for 10 years might not work in the next 10 years. So I think the fallacy I see a lot of great leaders or people that could potentially be great, they fall in is that I think it's very easy to become arrogant and to rest on your laurels that you've had success in the past, or maybe some strategies you tried in the past were successful, but you should never become complacent and you should always have this mindset that's open to learning. The way I see it is that I sometimes learn from people that are younger than me. I learn from people that are older than me. I learn from people that are in different lines of work than me. I learn from people that are maybe, are a lot older. They can be advisors to me, that have had a lot of success. But I also learn from people that are interns sometimes. And I just have a very open mindset where I try to remove my ego, where if something works, it doesn't matter who contributed to it or who like came up with it. I think credit's due where it's due, and the best idea should win on its merit, not because it came from someone who's very famous or because, they've had past success. Like I think that's the way I look at things is like if you want to become a great leader, stay humble, right? Have an open mindset, and I think that itself is hard enough to do, especially the more successful you get. So I think focusing on that to me is probably the advice I would give.
That's awesome, man. I really appreciate this interview. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Nipun Dubey from Happiness AI, CEO. And thank you again, and I hope you have a blessed rest of your day.
Thank you, man. You too. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.